We're now delighted to be joined over the telephone by our guest for the afternoon, Dr. Ayman Ghoniem, the economic expert. Dr. Ayman, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon to you, madam.
Thank you very much, doctor, for your time this afternoon. Dr. Ayman, let me start by asking you about the significance of the Suez Canal economic zone, specifically for Egypt's industry and the industrial strategy of the country.
Well, let me start by saying that President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is the first leader since long time who recognized the strategic importance of the economic and political geography of Egypt. Mm-hmm. Regarding the economic geography, the competitive advantage that Egypt has through its economic geography is tremendous. Because we have to know that the goods and services produced in Southeast Asia, they bear high transportation costs through naval transportation from their ports of shipment on the Indian Ocean, passing through the Arabian Sea, then Bab el-Mandeb Strait, then the Red Sea, till they reach Suez Canal, and then they are exported to their ports of destination in Southern Europe and the US.
Yes.
All this cost is deducted from the and commodities that are produced in Suez Canal area. That's why this area is considered to be the flagship of investment not only in Egypt but in the whole Middle East for the coming decade. Mm-hmm. Of course, exploiting our competitive advantage is a different story. Throughout many previous decades, Egypt used to levy the fees of Suez Canal without exploiting its possibilities for establishing economic, industrial, as well as logistical zones.
Right.
Now, since President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was elected in 2014, Egypt has been very active in doing this. First of all, through the digging of the second branch of Suez Canal with a length of 72 kilometers that reduced the time of crossing of the canal from 18 hours to 11 hours.
Yes.
And then through establishing superb infrastructure, not only in the Suez Canal area, but throughout Egypt, in order to transform the Egyptian economy from a rentier economy to a production and service economy. Mm-hmm. President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has been dealing with a lot of chronic problems in Egypt, in health, in infrastructure, as well as in the economy and in the industry. Now, talking about the economy, the Egyptian economy has been a rentier economy for so long. Mm-hmm. It was based, it depended on the yield of Suez Canal, the yields of tourism, the remittances of Egyptians abroad. Yes, we acknowledge that these are important sources of foreign currency and sources of income, but they have to be directed towards investment in capital goods in order to industrialize the economy, so we can base our economy on a strong and sustainable basis, provide for the increasing population, provide new job opportunities, and boost the economic growth.
Indeed. Now, Doctor, of course, the Suez Canal economic zone is blessed by a very unique geographic location which supports industrial growth, which supports the increase of exports. And the Prime Minister today spoke about industrialization, production, and not just fulfilling the needs of the domestic market, but also exporting surplus in order, of course, to bring in foreign currency, etc. How important do you see this chain of events?
Well, actually, today the Prime Minister spoke about a lot of important aspects regarding the nation's economic development strategy. He spoke about the need for boosting foreign direct investment, the need for boosting exports. And let me tell you, regarding the need for boosting exports, our agricultural expansion in Egypt yes, of course, it's required and it's important, and the new republic under the leadership of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi is pushing hard for it. We have the new Delta project that expands along 2.2 million acres. But the agricultural expansion is limited by first of all, by the arable land, and second, by the availability of water. So even after we expand agriculturally, we will still have to import a considerable size of our necessities. That's why the expansion in the industrial zone, in the industrial arena,
yes,
and the exportation, actually it's an existential cause for Egypt. Egypt must expand in the exportation, and President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has set the target of reaching $100 billion US dollars in non-oil exports per annum. And I don't think that this target is not realistic. Because let's say if we compare ourselves, for example, to Vietnam, that was bombarded by napalm in 1960s. Vietnam suffered more than the atomic bombs of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and yet today they export for $410 billion US dollars per annum, including electronics, including microchips, and they export to the United States, their former adversary, by I think more than $100 billion US dollars per annum. For Egypt, Egypt is qualified to expand its exports, especially after the large process of building and revamping the Egyptian infrastructure for the last 11 years since President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi was elected in 2014, revamping our railroad network, revamping our roads and bridges network. Egypt increased its road network by around 7,000 kilometers, increased the efficiency of more than 10,000 kilometers of roads, making them 17,000 kilometers. Our present road network is 31,000 kilometers, out of which 54% was either established or improved during the term of President al-Sisi. So Egypt is qualified to expand its exports, and especially with the present political will and the support, the presidential support for such a quest.
Absolutely, Doctor. And we saw the Prime Minister speaking about the expansion of industrial projects, which has, of course, reflected investor confidence in the Egyptian economy, and the government policies, as well as investments in infrastructure, as you said, to create a more attractive investment climate. Finally, Doctor, the Prime Minister thanked the private sector for their contribution, as well as their work in creating job opportunities, in developing these new factories and industries in Egypt. How important do you see the role of the private sector in this regard, sir?
Well, actually, I believe if I heard you well, madam, you're speaking about the the creation of jobs, the reduction of unemployment.
Yes.
Yes, unemployment declined in Egypt from around 12.7% in 2016 to presently around 6.1%. Which is around 6.6% reduction in unemployment, and the major force behind such reduction was the infrastructure projects undertaken by the Egyptian government, either directly or indirectly, because when you inject funds and capital in the economy through infrastructure, you create jobs either in the construction sector or in the dependent sector.
Yes.
But we don't expect such projects and such pace of very high expenditure on the infrastructure to sustain forever. We needed this for some time because our infrastructure in 2010 was ailing infrastructure, and I can tell you that there was a study undertaken by the World Bank in 2014 that estimated the cost of the traffic jams and the ailing traffic network only in Greater Cairo by around $8 billion in 2010, and it was subject to increase to around $18 billion in 2030. So the infrastructure projects that were undertaken by the Egyptian government, they were not a luxury, they were a necessity, and I like to call them an existential necessity. So we don't expect, of course, that such pace would continue, and that's why the second phase is to exploit such infrastructure in converting the economy into production-based and service-based economy. And that's why Egypt launched the National Strategy for Industrial Development that was announced by His Excellency General Kamel El-Wazir, the Deputy Prime Minister for Industrial Development. And this strategy is aimed at increasing the share of the manufacturing industries from around 14% of the GDP in 2024 to around 20% of the GDP by 2030. It aims at increasing the jobs by around 7 to 8 million jobs. It aims at boosting our non-oil exports to the realm of $100 billion. And most importantly, and I have to assert here, that it aims at localizing the inputs of the industries. Because again, the President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, he has, as we said, he's facing a lot of chronic problems, including the fact that most of the Egyptian industries were, and unfortunately many of them are still import-based industries. Most of them are assembly-based industries, like the automotive that we used to import all the parts and just assemble them locally. So previously the industrial expansion meant an expansion in imports, and thus pressures on our balance of payments and pressures on our local currency. Presently, Egypt is undertaking a structural reform in the industry, industrial sector, aiming at localizing the inputs of industries. So the exportation would be or would cause or should cause net foreign capital or net foreign exchange flow inside the country.
Right. I'll have to leave it at that. I'd like to thank you very, very much, Dr. Ayman Ghoniem, our economic expert. Thank you very much, sir, for your time and your insight and for joining us on today's edition of Cairo Local Time.